my name is Matt Lin, and I'm a mechanical engineering student at York University. Dr. Goel, as Ontario prepares students for an AI-driven economy, what is the single most important structural change universities must make to ensure that graduates are trained to challenge, explain, and validate AI system responses rather than just depending on them as black box tools?
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Matt. And I had a chance to chat with Matt a few minutes ago, and Matt's a mechanical engineering student and also plays on the football team. And I think that reflects what's so important about the university experience, because it's not just about the programs that you take, but it's about everything that you do, your co-curricular, your extracurricular activities. Those are the ways in which you develop the life skills to be ready, to be adaptable, and to work in the kind of world that we're going into. I think for me, the most significant immediate structural change is that we all work together on improving AI literacy within our institutions as well as across society. So, and by AI literacy, I don't mean turning them into one of Vector's research scientists, right? That's a very specific skill set we need, that frontier research to be continuing. But we need every member of society, and that means every student, every employee at our institutions having that basic knowledge of how to use AI tools, and most importantly, how to critically assess what comes out, how to pose the right prompts. Those are the human skills that will allow people to work with AI. And then finally, and this might be a stretch for a year, but I think we have a very urgent challenge around this, which we outline in the report, is we need to ensure that everyone has access to those tools. And we need to address the concerns that we have around data protection, data privacy, the use of our data in training of models, data sovereignty. And so how do we build out that sovereign AI stack that is going to be accessible and available to everyone? Because we can do the AI literacy, but if people don't have access, they're not going to be able to work with the tools.
I'm glad you mentioned that. It's a very exciting part of the conversation, and we will get there. I also want to talk about just the role of post-secondary institutions and how the technology is transforming them, is going to transform them. I was thinking, calling back to the recent Auditor General's report, the Ontario report that was like, okay, only 3% of provincial public servants did the AI training. Very few people use the sanctioned AI systems. And then people had used, it was like something, the number was 600 or around 600 AI systems. I was reading that thinking, wow, I didn't really know there were 600. You know what I mean? What's out there? What's happening? How are people using it? And how can we use it more effectively? The report hits on appropriately that, AI isn't just like grabbing a CD-ROM off the shelf and uploading it, that it's providing a transformative layer. What does real change look like in practice? And do you really think universities are prepared to change? Because let's face it, they can be remarkably resilient to the C word. Who wants to start? You made eye contact in the middle, so you could speculate. You could just be like, I'm not sure. I mean, you're on the task force.
I think university education is about learning to learn, in my opinion. And I think that, while courses and programs and structures may need to change to embrace AI and to look at how you're using AI, and still teaching the critical thinking skills and not continuing with the same program that might allow people to just use AI to do the course. So I think there's some structural changes required around enforcing those skills, but I think the learning to learn aspect of it needs to remain. I think the literacy piece that Vivek spoke about is critical in reducing fear of use. And I think that for me is kind of, from a practical workplace perspective, the number one issue. When we started to roll out AI tools, our security teams wanted us to be very cautious. And what we realized quickly was if we didn't give people access, they were just going to go access it anyways. And then they were going to be putting confidential data into these tools in the public domain. And so it's kind of always that balancing act, giving access, increasing literacy, and then, educating people on the art of the possible with those tools. And so I think that's a piece that universities must embrace. And it comes back a little bit to experiential learning and giving people opportunities to see how technology can be used in the workplace, and then going back and applying that in an educational context. And so I think that's kind of the marrying of the two. That's important.
If I could just, you know, I'll acknowledge universities can take time to change, and they have lots of processes, but so do big organizations,
100%.
governments. You mentioned the Ontario Civil Service. But universities do change. When I started post-secondary education, I hate to say 50 years ago almost, I had a slide rule and a typewriter that I took with me, right?
Sweet.
And I go to the library and there's card catalogs and I have to go and get books, read the articles, take notes, write my papers. Like, if you think about the digital world that we live in and how our institutions run today, it's what I started in is medieval, right? And we have changed. The difference now, I think, is the pace of change is going to be much, much faster. And our systems, our governance bodies, curriculum committees, senates, and so on, are going to have to adapt to that faster pace of change, just like governance. Minister Solomon was on this stage talking about moving at the speed of the technology. Now his report is 6 months late.
I'm with you.
But it showed, sorry, Kareem, but governments, we're all challenged with moving at the speed that we need to move at.
It's funny it's not like I had like an abacus or anything at school, but what people used to say, and then, again, just this throwback, right? It was like, whatever you do not cite Wikipedia. It's like, no, like, I'm not going to do that. And like now today, it's like, I'm like reading the news on an app, and it's like, Wikipedia's under attack for being seen as authoritative on the internet. So times, they do change. Anything you wanted to build on?
I think for me, there's kind of two things that I think universities need to do. The one is aligned with what came out in the report, which is that AI literacy piece. And it really needs to flow through every single discipline and department. And I'll use myself as an example. I, back in the olden days, grew up in a house that actually had a PC before this was common. Yeah. None of my friends had this, and I never touched it because I was afraid. And it was expensive, and I didn't want to break it. And I have now had 35 plus years in technology, and the reason I had my career is because I went for Bachelor of Commerce degree, which I thought did not have a mandatory computer class. Showed up and found out it had a mandatory computer class.
Wow.
Found that I loved programming. So my entire career happened because my university forced me to learn how to code. It would not have been my choice. And so I think AI is the same. You have to, in this day and age, understand what it's good at, what's not good at, how to apply it, and how can you take it and make something really amazing. And then I think the second thing universities need to really think through on the structure is the governance. You have to govern, and governance is not saying, I wish everything would slow down and stop, which I think we all every day say, just please, can we have a minute? It's not going to stop. The AI advances, think of it as trying to stop waves in the ocean. You can't. It's going to continue. So what we need is governance that's adaptive, that's automated, probably uses some AI in there as well to help highlight things we should look at. But we really need to get good at governance that enables innovation, governance that speeds adoption.
I really like what you said about an institutional experience forcing you to do something, not because it's autocratic, but because the university is a space to be pulled out of your comfort zone as a necessity versus, what is sometimes interpreted as a, choose your own adventure, navigate. You're attracted to like what you like and what you're good at, which is sometimes maybe not what you should be. You need friction. So hearing, bringing that friction, integrating that friction. How are we going to I mean, there's so much I want to ask, and I do want to get to the iPad